Remember to hit the subscribe button for our Exoconscious Humans YouTube channel, and turn on notifications too. That way you'll never miss a new video and you'll always get the latest programs. Our Substack brings you the work of the Exoconscious community. It provides information about contact, craft, consciousness, and more. You can join our Substack for free, or for just $8 a month, you can join our monthly coaching group. Meeting every third Saturday, in the coaching group you will find new friends, discuss topics that interest contactees, talk about UFOs, orbs, and disclosure. All right, let's dive into today's video.
Today we're going to talk about how our context has changed, maybe from our first contact to where we are today, and what have we become as a result of that. So some of the questions that I mentioned was, looking back on your first contact, how has your relationship with the beings changed? To what extent does your level of self-awareness determine your contact relationship? So if you're self-aware, how does that impact your relationship? Has your dependence on their guidance shifted? Have you established more of a peer-to-peer relationship? When you have requests, do you have the free will to say no or wait to respond? And then how do your answers to these questions define an exoconscious human as post-disclosure? So we'll answer those questions, talk about those questions, whichever one you want to talk about first. And then the last thing we'll talk about is, what advice would you offer a recent contactee? Which is kind of cool. Okay, anybody want to talk about how they've transformed? It's a good day to transform.
I went from having periodic contact experiences, but the contact experiences I had in the beginning were more like downloads and having received information. My original experiences were that I would just get information, and suddenly I would realize that I had gotten information, and it was like reading a book. You know, I could digest what I got, but I wasn't having really any kind of relationship. And I had, in many cases, absolutely no clue where this stuff came from. But I did have a knowing whether it was okay or not. So this was one of these things that's, okay, you got this information, and now you've been able to get comfortable with the fact that you got it, and you are able to do something with it. And that's how all my experiences were in the beginning. And then I started to get new kinds of experiences where people would contact me and tell me that I was being sought and I needed to pay attention. And then I would get more information, but I would know where it came from. And that was, different for me.
So people would contact you, like beings would contact you, or humans would contact you?
Humans who had contact would contact me.
Okay. Can you give us an example?
I am a Reiki master, and I used to hang out with Reiki master people, and people who I called spooky. Everybody was spiritual and into all of this business. And one day I got a call, and the person who led this particular group, who also did channeling, called me up and said, "Oh, you have to come to the meeting this week because Ashtar is looking for you." I'm going like, "What do you mean?" "No, they need to make contact with you. And so just come to the meeting." I went to the meeting, and essentially nothing happened for me at the meeting, although they were channeling Ashtar. What happened was, after the meeting, I realized that I had gotten a bunch of information during the meeting it wasn't registering for me. So, it started to register, and that's it. And that particular set of circumstances applied to my work at AT&T and how it is that everybody works from home today. Anyway, now I've gotten into this stuff, and I've gotten connected to the council, and doing the Beacon Project was very interesting for me because I'm actually now in a conversational mode with people. So I don't have to receive only and then transmit back. I'm having an actual real-time conversation with people.
People meaning human people or ETs or both?
Let me qualify that a little bit. Okay, ETs, yes. There are other entities out there that I get communication from and who respond to me, but it's not in real time. So I'll, for example, this is pretty much the case with spiritual entities for me, is I put something out there and I get something back, but I don't get it in real time. So if I, this afternoon, ask a question, tomorrow sometime, probably I'll get some kind of answer to that. But, they're not knocking on my door and going, yo, Nick, I got the answer for you. Nick realizes that the answer came and it's up there, and then I can get it out. Depending on the type of entity, if you would, I have different kinds of contact experiences. And I wanted to pick up on this because Kevin actually brought this up. I am able to pick up emotions and personalities now from the people I'm in contact with. And I thought that was pretty significant. And I first started to notice it. It was almost like thought forms. You got everything at once, bang. You got the words, the vision, the sound, the emotion, everything came all at once. And it gives you a completely different kind of experience. These are all nice entities. You can get them aggravated, and you can sense their aggravation with your performance, if you know what I mean. Just like I was told a number of times, we already told you that. Why are you bringing that up again? That was kind of like, well, mainly because I don't have the kind of memory you got, that kind of deal. So I think that's really what's happened to me over the course of time. And, it's been a long time. I would go years without anything. And then all of a sudden I would get a bunch of things for a while and then it would stop. So that's kind of how it's changed for me. And I do feel like I have a relationship with people. And so in particular, I find that the Council of Eight feels sort of like family at this point. So I guess I don't have any control over it. But, it's kind of like they speak to me like I'm speaking to you. Hey, you're not being too observant. This is going on. Pay attention. This kind of stuff I've gotten used to now, but it was quite alarming when it started to happen. I was like, oh, this is like real life. Part of the problems that I had doing the Beacon Project was that I would want to have a meeting with multiple entities, and that was extremely difficult. I think it's just because I didn't personally have the capacity to handle it. So it took me longer than I thought it should to do a lot of things, but I got it done.
Do you think that you have the bandwidth? You just haven't been using it, and the more you use it, the better you'll get at it?
Once I get going, I need to be able to focus, and I have a hard time energetically multi-focusing, if you know what I mean. It's like I need three people all at the same time, plus me. Half the time I have hard enough just dealing with myself, never mind anybody else. But I think it's more something that I would expect to improve over time through having more and more contact. I now have all kinds of contact on a regular basis with all kinds of things, and I don't know what to do with half the stuff that I got. And the other half of the stuff that's going on is the stuff I need to throw out the window because I'm not buying into it. So it's like the other day, Kevin told me some entity wanted him to ask me to do something. So I said, no, tell him, no, I'm not doing that.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Anybody else's contact transformed into maybe began as one thing and now it's transformed into something else? Anybody feel like that?
Yeah, mine does to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
I think really my contact started when I was 8 years old, when the two Arcturians materialized in my bathroom, frightened me to death at the time. And most of my life, it's been one of education, educating me about consciousness to where I have an understanding that they do of how consciousness can be used for communication, for travel, for healing, for education, for creation and co-creation, so that I can now communicate with them at their level of consciousness at will. It's just like speaking to you on the telephone or whatever. When I speak to them, I also get a visual. I see where they are. Their emotions come through when I speak to them as well. So it's really just speaking to extended family. So the majority of my lifelong experience with them has been education. But over the past few years, it's changed now. And it's not one of education, although they're still educating me when I need it in a specific area or arena. But now it's really become, we are now respected as equals, as beings, as part of our shared consciousness, not only with the humans that are here, but with the extraterrestrials that are here. So really it's now a change in the way that I see them and they see me. I can ask them for things, they can ask me for things, and I have free will. I have a choice. I can say yes, I can say no. I can do what they ask me, or I can say no, I don't want to do it, and these are the reasons why. Where you just have a normal discussion as you would with someone here. So it's changed from that educational to more peer-on-peer relationship, really. So it'll be interesting to see what they ask me to do in the future now, and see where we're heading. I already know my mission. They've told me that many times. My mission is to help facilitate the reveal globally of their presence here in the physical. So that's what I'm working towards with them. And they're also clearly guiding me to do that. And now, because they've educated me to an understanding of their level of consciousness, then we can communicate at will. So it's gone around in full circle, really. I think, in relation to being educated and now being, really, I suppose, a party to their galactic federation, really, a representative, possibly. I'm sure there are many others here that do that. Amanda's got her own contact, her own communication with what sounds like the angelic realms. And so we each have a small piece with this huge jigsaw of consciousness. So that's where I'm at the moment.
You want to talk a little bit about like how you emotionally and mentally coped with that transition from being educated to being a peer-to-peer, free will?
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it really until just recently in relation to that. But yeah, I suppose the transition is I'm getting used to that. I'm accepting the fact that who I am, what I've become, but I've only become that because they've assisted me and educated me. Without that, I would just be a normal, happy. Well, I'm normal. I am happy. All my abilities are normal to me, and I share them. I help others who was on that journey, my same journey that I had. So I'm able to assist other people, and I like doing that. If someone reaches out to me, I will share the information and help them, and get feedback from that. So I think it's a natural progression. It's like getting older. I'm older now. I'm 71, but I'm happy being 71 because I've had very good times in my life. I've had some bad times, ups and downs. But I'm a happy 71-year-old, enjoying life, enjoying having an understanding of consciousness makes things so. My reality is greater than most, but not here. I suppose the majority of people here, they live in the greater reality with the extended consciousness, with the extended star families, with the spirit realm, with the angelic realm, even up to some people with the divine. So once we understand these frequencies of consciousness, then the happiness generates from within. I'm just happy to be here and have been educated. I'm so grateful. I thank them most days. But I also apologize as well for mistakes that I make. I still make mistakes. I forget things from time to time. So yeah, it's still a learning curve for me, but I'm happy to be here. And I've been shown my next incarnation already. I know who and how I'm going to meet a very attractive woman when I'm in my 20s in Brazil. And there's a woman that's leading a parade, and I found her very attractive. And then later on in the evening, I saw her at a celebration. I went up to her. Anyway, we ended up having a relationship and getting married. But what transpired was the soul of that woman is the same soul that's in my wife at the moment, Sandy. So it's a continuation, really. So I can look forward to that. I'm in no rush to go. I'm enjoying this incarnation, but I look forward to have that knowledge. It's just fascinating, really. So I think that in itself makes me happy. Just to be here, I wake up and I'm happy in the morning. So yeah.
You're kind of raising an issue here of disclosure. This disclosure that the government, congressional hearings, and all of that talk about. That's sort of almost as though there's like quote experts in the intel community. They're going to come in and teach everybody about ETs. When in reality, it's really an individual by individual, how it's going to unfold. As you talk about your individual transformation, I just kind of wondering, gee, I wonder how effective this whole intel, military, government disclosure is going to be, because I really don't think that's necessarily how it's supposed to happen.
No, I think that we are being assisted, and we're being assisted by all the different levels of consciousness. That Howard had contact with all the different realms, and all realms are reaching out to individuals and educating us in certain areas. The governments can't do that. They haven't got all the knowledge. They don't have all the information. They like to think they have, and they're copying what experiences are giving the information for them, and then they're copying that. But they don't have those abilities. They can't communicate telepathically. They can't travel out of body. They can't create conscious craft. They can't separate their consciousness and become a conscious energy orb, as our star families do, as I can do. And I'm sure there are many others that can as well. They can't teach that. The government can't teach that. They can try and copy it, but they can't teach it because they don't fully understand it. So I think as you say, Rebecca, disclosure is an individual thing. They have disclosed themselves to me all my life, so I don't need disclosure. We use the term post-disclosure in our community here because we all understand, we all have contact with those levels of consciousness, with the ITs, with the spirit realm, with the angelic realm, with the ascenders masters. And as I say, some people right up to the divine consciousness itself. So Karen said something the other day, perhaps we are going to be the reveal, because we have the direct contact. You can come to me and ask me a question, and I can ask the Council of Eight, and they will give me an answer. And it's as simple as that, really. Who in the government can do that? I don't know anybody. Perhaps there might be some undercover people within the government that haven't come out yet, or they may pretend to have these abilities when in fact they don't. So yeah, it's an interesting time to be here, but I don't have a roadmap, I don't have a blueprint. They haven't told me that. I've tried to reach out to our government in the past because they asked me to, and I was ignored, really, which is understandable. But if they ask me again in the future, I will. If they don't, I won't. I'm just out there. I'm their ambassador, shall we say. I can do what they can ask me. They can reach out to me. Well, they can reach out to anyone here within our community. We all have contact, and we share contact with the same being. So that's amazing in itself. A group of people have contact with. I mean, I've got a couple of books here where people are talking to Orton D 15 years before I met them. And I mean, it's just unbelievable that Orton D are reaching out to other people. Well, we've got written evidence now that people who didn't know one another were contacted by these beings. And when you put that together, I think that's quite powerful.
Well, thanks, Kevin. Okay, who wants to go next?
I think I can put some exclamation points on what Kevin said. I guess if we're talking about contact, I made contact with Sperry as an extra dimensional, and now it's completely shifted. And I was asking Orton D to help me, and they just got one on each side and just lifted me because my thoughts are in the way. They lifted me above my thinking. And they took me to where Sperry and I used to be like, if I said I love you, he'd say, well, that's nice. But if we look at it carefully, we are love, you know. And so Orton D would get me back there. And I remember saying something to the group here probably 6-8 months ago, where I can see with my mind's eye, but I can't see with my physical eye. But when I was in the hospital, my physical eyes opened up and I saw this golden mantis being, and it was with me for 3 days. And it kind of showed me that it was me somehow. I mean, instead of coming and giving me information, it came and got in me so that I had the information that it had. So yeah, my contact is shifting. I don't see as much as a lot of people see. My inner eye's open, my mind's eye. So I just kind of go with that until I can see. But I still think Kevin needs to teach all of us how to not be traumatized. Because remember when we were doing trauma and we're all traumatized, but Kevin, and I knew he was going to say that. So I'm looking for that, Kev. I think that's it. Thanks.
That's great, Soozi. That's amazing. I hadn't heard about the golden mantis being.
For 3 days, it just kept walking, and there were these. It was walking through gold. And it wasn't like golden coins. It was like these bubbles of gold, tall. And I still don't know what that meant, but it was just, it was golden, and there was gold and I kept going, wow, this is a lot of gold. It was just tons and tons. I still don't know how to manifest it, but I'm willing and able. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think we can all attest, Soozi, to like the transformation that you've gone through. It's been really beautiful to witness that and to be here for you in that. Congratulations.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. I feel right now. I feel like I'm hanging on with a thread, but I'm to the point where I go, okay, where's the lemonade? You know, I've gone through all this suffering, and I you know, but I want to know why. Not why did this happen, but what do I get to transition into because of it? I was not ready for this one.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you saying that, like, what's next? Because something's coming that it's coming, and talking about a peer-to-peer relationship and the shift in that, and maybe we are the reveal. I mean, this is, we're in a different place now as a group.
Isn't that the elephant in the room?
Yes.
We are the reveal.
We are, yeah.
The difference is people are beginning to talk about it. A lot of my experiences are very similar to what Kevin explained from his point of view. Mine also began about eight or nine, somewhere around there. When I heard the voice, I didn't see anything. There was nothing to see. No one was there, but I heard very clearly, Howard, well, now that you're here on this earth, you'd better figure out how it works. And that was my first anomaly. I didn't understand it at the time, but I kind of watched for other anomalies. And as I experienced them, I wrote them down. And good thing I did, because when I recently came back to write my last book, The Elephant in the Room, I had to rely on my notes. And a lot of what was there was stuff I had completely forgotten. I couldn't write them and include them in the book if I hadn't written them down. It just proved to me the value of journaling your experiences, and that those experiences are unique to me, but everyone has their own set of experiences. And if you learn and open your eyes and heart and learn to connect those dots, each individual experiences, it's like following breadcrumbs that are put out for you. It's not leaving breadcrumbs behind you. It's following where the breadcrumbs lead you. I found an astounding number of coincidences that happened to me that I could not have believed in their probability. All these experiences, automatic writing, little video clips in the middle of a healing session, remote viewing, remote healing itself. Well, as described in my Transcalar Healing book, it's spiritual healing. But these are the ways that I've changed through my own experiences. And if you write them down and review them occasionally, you learn to see how you change. Rebecca, you were mentioning before how do these experiences change us as exoconscious beings post-disclosure? I would say I'm not worried about post-disclosure at all. We are working, growing, leading, and showing the way pre-disclosure. And it's through sharing your own experiences, growing, and just being who you are and letting that radiate out. That's how others are influenced as well. I learned through my experiences that my mission is virtually the same as Kevin's mission, is to come here and be a beacon of light. We're not going to get disclosure from the government. Disclosure is coming from us within as we create a larger community. In fact, that's exactly what my friends, extraterrestrial friends, have informed me and my readers of the ETs Speak book. They're not waiting for the right, I guess in a way they are waiting for us to create the right moment for them to disclose. But it's us being who we are day to day, every day, in the grocery store, walking down the street, whatever, wherever we are, to change our world. And a lot of that is knowing who we are spiritually as a soul. Kevin mentioned the extraterrestrial beings that are readily available to give him advice when he asks. Same here. Same to all of us. So what's the big deal about extraterrestrials? The only thing is that most people, I don't want to say normal people, but most people aren't aware of their connection to their soul, which is that higher self within, that guiding light, that little angel on your shoulder that says, don't do that, or do this instead because it'll be much better for you. That's our soul speaking to us. And when we listen and don't override it with the ego's desires and impulses, then we learn what's best for us. And my mission is just that, to be a beacon of light wherever I am for whoever's around at the time. That's pre-disclosure. We've learned from our extraterrestrial friends that they will disclose themselves, not through our government's requests or anything like that. This is according to them. 50% or more of the humans must ask for their presence. They say, the extraterrestrials, said, we've already met and exceeded that. Another prerequisite is that 50% of humans must move from self-service to other-directed service. In other words, service to self, move away from that, move toward being in service to others. They say that we're working on it, making progress, close, but still need more to go on that one. The third prerequisite for them to disclose to us is that humans must not harm extraterrestrials. They say, well, there's no danger of that. We can protect ourselves. There's nothing you can do to us that can harm us. So that's a non sequitur anyway. But the fourth one is that humans must not bring harm to other humans. That one, they say, is, quote, quite problematic at this time, unquote. That's what we're here to do, to create conditions where those four prerequisites that they have said are the green light for them to disclose, then they will be free to do that, despite what the Skinwalker Ranch and other psionics are attempting to do. That is not disclosure. Well, there's really two kinds of disclosure in my mind. There's overt disclosure by the ETs of who they are, and just complete unmasking of their ships in the skies. And there's the individual disclosure, where you do really admit and accept and revel in the knowing that you are safe, you are protected, you are loved. There's nothing that you really need to worry about, except perhaps the trail of tears that you've left behind you to make amends for it. A couple of things we've learned from our ET friends and discussions from my clients. Yeah, I'm a retired hypnotherapist, focusing on past life regression, life between lives, spiritual regression. But we've learned that there's a universal law that we're here to have. We're given free will to explore, and we've actually been encouraged to explore everything in both realms of creation, both the spiritual realm and the physical realm. We're here to create whatever we wish without judgment. However, we must experience what we create. And that's part of life's lessons, to experience life and to undo the damage that we've done, or at least atone for it, whether it's emotional or physical or whatever. But the ETs have their separate prime directive. They say, you have free will as a soul. All souls have free will. They will not interfere with our free will to do anything, except if we choose to actually kill other humans with a nuclear explosion. They will prevent that. Other than that, we're free will. We can do anything we wish without judgment. But as long as we keep fostering aggression, doubt, fear, mine is better than yours, division, etc., that's not what they want us to export as we become spacefaring. So they won't prevent our becoming negative beings out in space, but they will encourage a quicker development if we are peace-loving as we begin exploring our solar system and galaxy and move out and consciously integrate with our galactic community. Another thing that I've learned in my 86 times around the sun is that much of what I've learned needs to be shared. But I've learned also that I'm not a very good public orator. So my mode of sharing is the written word. That's why I've trying to do my part through the books that I've written. And I think, Rebecca, that kind of sums up everything that I need to say.
Thanks, Howard. I love your disclosure prerequisites. That's very cool. And also the discussion of free will. We can do a whole day on free will.
What Howard said about the nuclear weapons, if we use them again, IET said exactly the same, almost verbatim. They will step in and intervene if we use our nuclear weapons again, or attempt to use them. So I think that's an important information, because a lot of people are frightened of a third world war with nuclear weapons. And if they understand that our ETs have already said that they will intervene if we do, then that in itself is a deterrent for our governments, for those that want to create these wars. So it's good that we've got that from two independent sources now. And I'm sure there's others that have probably received the same information, because the more we expand, the more we get more confirmation of what's being said to a larger group. So yeah, so I just thought I'd just confirm that with Howard.
Right, and they've already demonstrated their ability to control our nuclear weapons.
They told me that as well. They said that they've demonstrated to our governments that they can shoot down their nuclear weapons at their highest velocity and speed or whatever, and altitude. And so they already know that they're useless and they can be shot down. But do they take any notice? I don't know. But clearly they are aware of it. So,
Steve, did you want to comment?
Yeah, there was something that came across my feed somewhere. I think it's fairly new information. And it's basically that during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the ETs actually already stopped a nuclear launch out of Cuba. That during the Cuban Missile Crisis in the 60s, we came as close as possible to the start of World War III. But this new information was that apparently they actually did hit the button on the Cuban side, because they're so angry at the Bay of Pigs and everything that went on. I assume the assassination attempts on Fidel Castro included, but that the ET stopped it, that they disabled the launch. The other thing I'd say that, what's next? What's the payoff? That's all us. We're what's what's next, the evolution of humanity. I mean, I'm very interested in the ETs, but I think overall it's secondary to what's going on with humanity's evolution. We're right on the verge of that really taking place. I don't think it's going to be necessarily a easy transition or an easy evolution. When a human is born, that comes at quite a bit of struggle, quite a bit of mess, you might say. And I think this will be like that'll be like that. I was in military intelligence and the intelligence community for several years, but it was all before my ET experiences, my direct ET experiences. But I'll just say that if you're hearing it from a quote unquote government source, don't trust it. There's so much going on behind the scenes, so many agendas. Basically, we've been misled for over 80 years. There's a reason for it, and it basically, in my opinion, anyways, comes down to greed, money, power, all those kinds of things. There's just so much at stake for them on the other side. They're not going to disclose that. It would be, I think they would be too afraid of the consequences, and I think they probably do have a point. But disclosure will happen when we know ourselves, and then at that point we will have disclosure about everything that went on. Thank you.
I don't know if people know, but Trump said that he would send missiles to the Ukraine if the Ukraine could hit Moscow on its own. So what he was saying was, if they would not be using, the satellite array or whatever, that they'd have to do that on their own. And everything I've been reading about nuclear weapons is that all of the new, quote, missiles aren't nuclear. It's more of like a kinetic rod of God type of technology that they're using. And so obviously somebody in the government, to follow up what Howard, Kevin, and Steven said, somebody in the government must have taken seriously that these nuclear weapons were shut down. So, well, let's just invent a new bomb without a nuclear weapon. They pivoted for some reason. I don't know what the reason is. Could be ET. Maybe well be ET, but a pivot has definitely taken place in war technology. And the second pivot that they did was, we're not going to nuclear bomb humans. Giordano came out 5 years ago and said the human brain is the new battlefield for the 21st century. To follow what Steve said, we're looking at a situation of knowing ourselves, and that would go to knowing when your brain's being attacked or knowing when your psychic sovereignty is being attacked. We're really looking at an individual battlefield, so no surprise that disclosure is, or exoconsciousness is, a person-to-person basis. Because that's what you're going to need. You're going to take care of yourself. Okay, anybody want to talk about how they've transformed?
First of all, I have to say that tomorrow is my big birthday. It's coming up 11th year as a walk-in. And it has been a journey. But, since my childhood, or in my childhood, there was this Men in Black experiences, at least for 10 years. And then all kinds of ETs, the good ones, have been along with my path. And nowadays, it seems that everything is coming together in my reality. So it was 2 years ago, the ETs that I'm interacting with, I got an initiation from them. And ever since, it has been just smooth transition into alignment into myself. and also with them. So we are in a unity. I'm so excited what's taking place during these times, especially during this week. I can see a huge shift in the collective consciousness as well in my own life. I'm just happy to be me, and all the struggles seems to be far away in my history. So it was the guardians; they were very much involved with my awakening, and also the tall whites and the white light, the Council of White Light. It has been, I think, by my major contact, because it's not just my inner world experience. It just, I can see that everything is coming together into this reality, and I know that I'm stepping into my next role, my mission, within a few months. And I'm certain that I'm able to see my ET friends, because they're already here. It's just a matter of when I'm aligned with myself to meet them. I would say to everybody who has a contactee experience, it's reality. It's more real than this world. So that's the truth. And when you align with yourself and truth to yourself, the universe will align with you, and you're starting to see your inner world to be manifested into this reality. And that is the paradise we are living here and manifesting.
Can you put that in a bottle and sell it? It's beautiful. Do you want to talk a little bit about what happened 2 years ago in terms of your initiation? You said that was really the marker that shifted you.
Well, there have been so many of them. So 11 years ago it started. Within 2 weeks, there were so many initiations. It was coming from Jesus, I guess, the first place, and Metatron, and then many in Egypt, in the ancient Egypt. But they were all sort of, earthly initiations. But 2 years ago, it was all about ET initiation. And that was a huge one. And I was tested at the Monroe Institute at the same time. But, the computer, whatever the measurement was, it just clicked. So it didn't have any kind of results. The frequencies were so high. And maybe it was 2 days after that, I was able to see that person. I think she was a female. I was able to see her in Antarctic. So she was here in the physical form. But that was a huge, they are just like parties, and there were just gifts and lots of dancing. There's some kind of ladies dancing in the background. It's just so holy. I cannot describe that, because it's beyond holiness.
Okay, Cindy, you want to go next?
For me personally, now today, I got confirmation that I'm not the only one. As we got older, there was a change in contact. So for me, that's important, because I was kind of feeling like left out with the contact, because I was so used to it when I was a child and a younger adult. And I thought, well, I'm older now. They don't have any use for me. But it turns out that the groups are what is important, because it's extending the ability for all of us to share our information, our messages, our reveals that we've had throughout our life, which I think, there's quite a few of you that recognize the change. The earth energies, I'll say, because we're all picking up on it. And whether or not an event or events happen, we'll have to wait and see. But for me, it's kind of like the energy is an ebb and flow thing for me. So it just puts me on high alert, like to pay attention. And I think that perhaps that's part of that messaging and teachings that the ETs gave us as they made frequent contact with us. I think they taught us to recognize when the energy, whether it's them personally taking you and contacting you and going, wake up, pay attention, their reveal is through the group and the people within it that we all share, that energy and messages are coming through that I think will be a part of, if anything significant or terrible were to happen, I think we'll be a part of that. And I think just our ability to use our energy and thought processes, that we can shut that down if there's danger of extinction. I think that's all part of the ETs when they were teaching us when we were young, because I was always showing lots of catastrophic events that were going to happen. And so I have to say, most of my life, I was looking for signs of those catastrophes. I felt it was important. Like, I don't know why I felt like, I can stop that if I think hard enough about it. But whether or not that's true, we'll just have to wait and see. There can be nukes done not just by our government, but by foolish people that have access to things. And so that's where I think that we're picking up on that energy and we can sense it. And I think that energy we're picking up, we're putting our energy out to stop it. As a child, a young adult, contact was physical for me. But then as I aged and got older, then it turned to what I call like a quotes dream state. It's a dream you're interacting with, but you're interacting on a physical, spiritual realm. For me, I could tell the difference between just a regular dream or one of those dreams. Because when you wake from it, you can literally feel it in your body, in your soul. They don't have to take you physically. They can do it like take your soul, spiritual being, which then is still an enhancement of your being a human, because you're still recognizing that they're giving you messages yet, even through that. And it's kind of like, you're in your brain. For me, it's like cataloging things. Lots of times, I refer to the ETs as my friends. Even as a child, I use my fingernail to scrape off the ice on the bedroom window to look out, to search for them and go, where are you? Where's my friends? As an adult, it's kind of like you miss that relationship, as if they are physically a friend, a deep-souled friend. Sometimes I see craft, but actually, more often than not, there's orbs. And I started using the word orb way before the media came out with it. And Rebecca can testify to that, that I came up with that word orb because I didn't know what else to call it up in the sky. I knew it wasn't a star, a planet, that would gyrate colors. I'd play telepathic games with it. tell it to hold a certain color, and it would do it. It would zigzag around in the sky, letting me know, try to get my attention. As recent as last January, when I was struggling, I had been on the road for 13 hours, driving back from my daughter's home in California. And it was like 2:30 in the morning, and I was struggling to make it. And I was determined I'm not pulling over, because I feel that that's more dangerous. And especially at that time, because people are like in a daze driving. All of a sudden, this orb literally right in front of me through the windshield from a distance literally came zooming in, and then is zigzagging around in front of me, trying to get my attention. And immediately I recognized it and felt the energy, and I'm going, oh my God, thank you. Thank you, thank you. And then off of my peripheral vision, here comes another orb from the left. I could see it, and I looked at it out the driver's side window. So both of those orbs literally guided me the last 35, 40 miles until I got to the driveway. And so I felt that was very significant contact for me as an older and adult. That's confirmation that, hey, they know you're in some kind of danger of something happening, and it's not your time for something happening bad. They need you further, and they're going to get you there. So for me, that was the first time that I actually had that type of confirmation from the ETs. I had the same thing. Rebecca knows that we would seek out each other and end up being in the same groups, which then you kind of synchronize with people's energies in these groups. And I think that's kind of where we're at with our groups right now. It's an important time that we have that synchronization, because I think we're all contributing at an energy level and a teaching level, and we all recognize it and accept it. There's no one out there going, oh, I don't want this contact. It's dangerous. I don't like it. So we're past that. And we're kind of past like what Rebecca and I kind of refer to as the kindergartners. With contact, it's kind of like school. You got kindergarten when you're first into it, then middle school, high school level, then it's college level and PhD level, which personally, I think our group people were all at that level. So, because it's different, we're not looking at that contact as, ooh, I'm special because I get contact. We're looking at, oh, what can I learn from this? There's messages intoned with that contact. And so as an exoconscious human, that I think makes the difference. And I think that's where we'll stand out with disclosure and with other new contact people. They're going to recognize that. They're going to seek us out, because we actually act as teachers as well, not just the ETs. And I think it's important that we all realize that we're teachers. We're conveying what the ETs have taught us. There were times, when I was a younger adult, where they would slam me back into my body too quickly and cause that sleep paralysis, and sometimes it would create like a quickening in my heart, almost like a panic feeling, because all you can do is move your eyes back and forth. It feels like forever, but it really is just fractions of seconds, right? before you get movement back. But nonetheless, for me, it was creating a physical issue. And I had asked the ETs to please stop doing that sleep paralysis. It was interesting because after I asked them to stop doing that, they did. So it never happened again. So they obviously listen to us. So I thought that was important to remind people that, if they're doing something that's bothersome, we have that right, and they do listen. I'm looking at my notes here to see. Also the peer-to-peer thing. For me, it was always the medical perspective. Besides ICU nursing, I was always certified in the alternatives. And I did a lot of energy work on my patients besides the normal applications. I had a couple of experiences where they literally took me into some kind of medical bay on a craft. And there were humans and different ETs laying on these tables, slabs. And I would accompany these ET medical practitioners to each table. And I was observing. I wasn't there to help, but I was there to learn and observe. And obviously, I picked up on something, even though at the time I didn't think I was learning anything, But then later on, it turned out that they were teaching me how to use my energies to heal. I developed a more enhanced ability. It was interesting because I remember developing like that energy sense I could feel without touching anyone. It was like a static type energy, a heaviness if something was wrong, and I could feel it. And oftentimes I would do things like with my friends or my colleagues in nursing and stuff. And I'd say, hey, let me do my therapeutic touch on you without touching you, but don't tell me anything. Let me tell you where your problems are. And I said, that's a way for me to develop my skill and to see if I'm right. And so that's what I would do. And I surprised myself at the accuracy, and people would say, oh my God, how can you know that, without me even telling you? And I go, well, your body's telling me, and that's what I'm picking up. And so I think as we go now into our future and our different 5D, 6D level of existence, I think it's going to be important for all of us to remember that the ETs have taught us so many things and over the years, and that we're going to be given the opportunity to use those skills.
I love that. That's beautiful. I love that. The accuracy, the fact that, the peer-to-peer, and now we're at the point where we're going to be using that. Yeah, thanks everybody. This is great. This is a great talk. Thank you. And Steve, I appreciate your knowledge about Intel and what's to come.
Rebecca, this is such an awesome opportunity for us. Thank you so much.
It really is. We are all like walking into the future together, and it's so exciting. I just think opportunities are just one after the other is going to open up. And just the fact that, as we've been talking, we're really a sovereign group. We're about psychic sovereignty. We're about moral sovereignty. We're about individual sovereignty. And we're going to need that right now.